Taking Care of Your Business is a series of programs to help small businesses succeed in Scottsdale. This program is presented by Scottsdale's Economic Development Department at 2 p.m. the first Friday of each month in the Eureka Loft, a free collaborative workspace at the Scottsdale Civic Center Library. Learn how to take care of your business at choosescottsdale.com.
My name is Jennifer Delaporte. I'm the Director of Business Development for WESPAC Construction. So some of you might say, what can somebody in construction teach me about marketing? Well, I joined WESPAC, as Mark said, in August, but I had a consulting practice for almost 4.5 years, teaching all over the state, predominantly in marketing best practices. And as a small business owner myself, as a consulting practice, believe me, I learned what I taught really, really well, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, and we're going to explore a lot of different things. So how many of you, either when you were starting your company or maybe you got sort of settled or you're working with your clients, said, okay, I have this business, right? What do I do now, right? What comes next? Do people know your name, right? Do they know who you are, right? Do they know you by your name? Do they know you by your company name? There's a lot of diversity in those two components, right, when we're talking about brand. Do you know your name? Do you know how you want to promote yourself? Realtors are really good at this, right? They typically have a brokerage, then they have their own sort of company name, then they have their own name. Same with Merrill Lynch, right? You have a big corporate company, but you may be doing your own service providing, right? So do you know what you want to market yourself as? Did a customer knock on your door today? How many of you had a customer, hi, I'm ready to buy, right now, here's my money, right? We'd love that. That would be absolutely awesome. We're going to talk about getting a little closer to that. Where is your door? There are a lot of doors to do transactions now, right? There's an actual retail space, potentially, where people come in the office. There's online, right? Your website, bless you. There is, social media. There's different ways that people are utilizing social media to do business. I know realtors use Craigslist, right? I just heard about this new Swip Swap on Facebook. It's a consumer-based thing, but it's like a really robust type of Craigslist. So there's a lot new programs that are coming up and about, right? What will your signs and flyers look like? This is what most people think of marketing, right? What do my pieces look like? You guys probably get this all the time. Okay, great, show me my pictures. Show me my flyer, right? There is so much that happens before we get to the flyer, and it's really important as business people we talk about those things. And most importantly, how will your customers know that you are different, right? You two are sitting next to one another, you're both in a similar field, right? Realtors, there's lots of realtors. You, as you open up your product, right? I'm sure that there may be some competitors in your particular market segment. So what we're really going to talk about is the first steps, the beginning steps. Because if you start out just making an email campaign, you're already behind the ball, okay? So, specifically what we're going to talk about today is what do you need to do to successfully market your business, okay? The first thing we need to do is establish your best competitive positioning. How many of you have ever heard the word competitive positioning? Raise your hand high for me. Okay. Competitive positioning is basically positioning yourself competitively in the marketplace in which you want to do business. And it's not happenstance. It's not just, I'm here, right? There is a strategy and a focus and a methodology to it. Define your brand, right? You want to have some control over what that looks like. Develop a corporate identity. A corporate identity is different than a brand and different than competitive positioning. So we're going to talk about the distinction between those two, or three, I should say. And establish who will hear you best. Who are going to be your best clients, right? We want to work smarter, not harder. So if we target the right people, their conversion in the sales process will move much quicker. Does that make sense? Okay. Plan, budget, and track for success. A lot of small to mid-sized companies that I used to do consulting for used to tell me they don't have time to write a marketing plan, right? They don't have time. I would tell you, you cannot afford not to make the time. And especially given the economic climate that most of us do our business in, we're still not out of the woods yet, right? We went through a major recession where a majority of the people who would be our typical clients either could no longer qualify to purchase our products or transitioned out of the market. If we didn't have a plan to make sure our marketing dollars were going in the right places, many of our dollars would have been wasted. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And what comes next and every interaction after that, right? So we're going to talk about, again, it's not just about flyers. It's not just about marketing, okay? So how many of you know the difference between business to business and business to consumer? Raise your hand high for me. Okay, pretty good. So business to business means that we do business with other businesses, okay? So about half to 60% of the room and maybe 2 consumers, right? So customers are other companies or professional partners versus customers are consumers. And what's important to kind of acknowledge about this is the way that you would market given a B2B or B2C. So when you hear B2B, that means business to business. B2C means business, B2C. Proposals, invoices, websites, sales team, right? You typically aren't going to do television if you're a realtor, right? Because you're reaching a whole huge demographic of people that may or may not be in your demographic, right? Whereas B2C, if I'm selling Arby's or I'm selling Wendy's, everybody eats, right? So it's a natural sort of mass media, social media, sales team type of approach. Okay, so I always like to start there and say there's 2 different chains. A majority of what we're going to talk about today applies to just general marketing, and it'll apply to whether you're a B2B or a B2C, okay? So I also like to talk about the difference between sales, business development, and marketing, because they all kind of sound the same, and people use them interchangeably very often, right? So sales typically focuses on revenue production. Your job in sales is to sell, is to move someone from the beginning of the sales process to close, okay? It's about lead generation. It's about finding new people to purchase products. It's about sales process advancement, and it's about repeat and referral support. Business development is kind of a component of marketing, right? It's more on the marketing side than it is the sales side. And specifically why I say that is business development is about brand placement, right? It's about market expansion. It's about new user acquisition and awareness, okay, which is slightly different. And then we have marketing, which is different than business development. And marketing is about the development of the brand, right? So again, the placement versus the development, the support recruitment of target markets, and campaign design, execution, and tracking. So you're all saying, this is great, I love this little diagram you got, but that still doesn't really boil it down for me, right? So how about this? Sales is selling directly to an end user. I'm going to take a product and sell it to the person who's going to use it. Business development is to work through partners to sell to an end user. So myself, I partner with architects and engineers and a variety of partners who won't necessarily sell my product, but they become a function of my sales force in a partnership in order for us to develop business through a network. Okay? And marketing is influencing the buying decisions of an end user. So we need marketing for sales or business development because we want to influence those folks to move forward in the sales process. Okay? Any questions on that? And if you see, there's a little spot to follow along on the first sheet with that one. So simply stated, I always like to take this one step further on sales versus business development. The function of sales is to sell directly to the end user. Business development sells through a network, but the key point is in a scalable way. I don't just run all over town and if I meet an architect go, you, hey, what's going on, right? Again, there's a strategy, there's a focus, there's a process, okay? Much of our economic development department and our chamber departments are very similar to business development, correct? You want to create those relationships which then leverage common goals, okay? So, there are 4 P's of marketing. You can move down. The first is your product. The second is the place. The third is the price. And the fourth is promotion. Do you notice that there are 3 things that come before promotion? You guys are going to hear this from me probably more than you even really want to acknowledge, okay? We're really quick to the gate to go to market. And there's so many things that come before if we want to be successful, okay? So product is what you offer. And I would challenge you, if I'm selling widgets, is the widget my product? Or is the result for my client the actual product? I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Wolf of Wall Street. I watched it this week. I'm not going to promote it too much because you could go on either side of it. It's a little cuspy as far as controversy. But there's a great sales scene when Leo says to one of his friends, "Sell me this pen." And his friend looks at him and says, "Write your name on that napkin." He goes, "Well, I can't." And he goes, "Now you need a pen." Okay? The product is not the pen. The product is what your client can do with that particular product. And it's important to think about it backwards. Think about the benefit to your client or customer or user, and then work forwards to craft your messages and your strategy and your benefits, okay? The place, where you offer it, there's a lot of ways you can define place, okay? And it's important that you do. Are you a geographic provider? Can you only sell in a particular state or a particular city or a particular area, right? Can you do markets online? Can you do markets brick and mortar? Can you do markets through apps, right? There's a lot of different ways. So you want to think about what those places are, because each one of those places will have a different methodology of marketing, okay? Price, what it costs your customers, and it's not just dollars. How easy is it to do business with you? If they go to your website and they have to look all over and try and figure out where they click and where they do this, you've lost them, right? It's time, it's energy. The companies that are most successful make it easy for their customers to do business with them. It's not about easy for the business, it's about easy for the customer, okay? And promotion, how we add more customers. So I would first tell all of you that at some point you need to go through an exercise and say, what is my product, my place, my price, and promotion? For service providers, we have a lot of them up front. There's a lot of service providers in your individual industries, right? So what makes you different? What makes your product different? Okay, think about those things. Those are good, important items. And promotion should always be tied to your brand, your plan, and your budget. Always. It's so important I make it dance around. Okay, so how do we create a brand? Everybody loves this word brand, right? Oh, my brand. I gotta do my brand. A brand, the way that I would describe it, and we talk a little bit about this later, it's who the essence of your company is. It's like a person, right? Like you guys are gonna leave here and you're gonna be like, that Jennifer girl, she's got spunk, or she's got moxie, or she's really loud or animated, right? You're gonna describe me as certain things. People are describing your companies as certain things too. And that's what your brand is. It's like the impression that you leave behind once somebody has touched and encountered you, okay? So the first thing we have to do is research the market to find opportunities and competitors. There's a great book, I saw it right over here. I think it's called Competitive Strategy. Start there, okay? Read that book. And I have lots of people, entrepreneurs especially, because they're usually go-getters, right, who will say, yeah, I get it, and but I just don't have time. You have to make time. If you want to make it through 5-year downturns, you have to make time to understand who's in the marketplace. And it's not about knowing what your competitors are doing. It's about finding the place that they're not. It's about being smarter and working harder, or working faster and better, not harder, okay? You need to honestly evaluate the value your product offers customers. You know, I was a real estate agent for a while, and there's a lot of agents, right? There's a lot of people. There's a lot of nonprofits, right? There's a lot of cities. So what is it that we offer that somebody else doesn't, right? And you have to be honest, brutally honest. There's a great book called Good to Great, and it's called The Brutal Facts, okay? You need to be honest with yourselves. What are you missing in your sort of landscape of services, and where are you getting beaten out? It's not necessarily about being better than your competitors, but it's about finding where those opportunities are, okay? Define your target segments and best placement in the market. Again, we're not going to be everybody to everything, or everything to everybody. Say that 10 times fast. And some people talk about the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your market will produce 80% of your business. There's all these fun rules and things, and the reality is that you need to define who you're going after, because that way when the magazine salesperson comes to you and says, hey, do you want to do this ad? Or you are considering doing a banner ad on Facebook based on this, that, and the other, you'll actually know who you want the message to go to, right? Just like they're doing their strategic plan for the city, right? They want to know what key markets are going to be most successful in converting in the sales process to putting their business here in Scottsdale. They're trying to leverage from their own expertise, okay? Develop brand standards to guide every action. All of you should have documented brand standards. How many of you have clear documents that if I came to your office right now, you could show me all of your fonts, all of your colors, your brand personality, and the type and way that you want to communicate with your clients? Raise your hand. Okay.
Only because of Danielle.
Absolutely, only because of Danielle. But with that, that's one thing all of you can take away today, okay? Just, you can do it on a notepad. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be spectacular. But at any given moment in time, if you're going to make a decision about interacting with the market, you need to have some clear map of why and how and when, okay? And then go to market. So again, do you notice that there's 4 circles before we ever get to go to market? It's really important. And keep in mind that when you enter the marketplace, you are making a subconscious promise to your future customers. You are promising to do something for them. But if you don't have it documented, and you aren't clear on what it is, how can you make that promise? That's how we end up with customers who don't necessarily understand what we do, or maybe give us a bad Yelp rating, or all of these different components. It's because the process or the experience they had with us wasn't consistent. Most likely because we're not consistent in the way that we're engaging the market, okay? These 3 bullets are really important about competitive positioning, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, okay? Competitive positioning is something that, for our marketing service providers, I'm sure you guys do some type of exercise like this with your clients, right? For those who are going into a startup, right? This is the first place you start. When you say, I don't know which industry I'm going to maybe necessarily delve into, do some competitive positioning. Do a strategy exercise to say who's out there, okay? So, I'm going a little fast. Keep in mind that marketing, to me, if we boil all of this down, is anything you do to acquire, retain, or interact with a customer. Anything. It can be both passive or active, and you have a little bullet at the bottom of your first sheet that says that, passive or active. You can mean to do it, or you cannot mean to do it. And to truly be effective, your marketing efforts must be consistent, purposeful, always in support of your brand identity, and legal. Okay? So the most successful market positioning is based on research, and it's driven by your value proposition. Now, how many of you have heard the word value proposition before? Okay, good. We have a very savvy group here. It's nice to see. Okay. Value proposition, for those of you who are new to this, is the benefit you provide in the marketplace that becomes the basis for every customer interaction. It drives everything. So how do you figure out what your value proposition is? Well, there's 3. And most people don't know this. There are literally 3 value propositions that you can be in the whole wide world. And other than those 3, there are no other value propositions, okay? The first is operational excellence and cost efficiency, okay? And you have this on the second page. There's an O, C and a T, I think. They're typically driven by price, okay, these particular companies. And by improving their operation, it provides for increased revenue. So Walmart is a prime example of a operational excellence value proposition, right? There's a famous story of a grocer in California. And it was in the 70s. This stock boy brought out this box, and it had toilet paper cans in it or something, and he put the box right on the shelf. And he said, look, this will save us so much time. I don't have to stand here and put all the cans up. It'll be great. The grocer had an absolute coronary, said, you cannot possibly think that people will ever reach in a shipper box and purchase their products out of that. We offer them, above and beyond. Heard of Walmart? Heard of Costco? Sam's Club? They improved their operational efficiency, and those cost savings they push back to their clients. Okay? KB Homes is another one. They're pretty good. They're very operationally efficient. They can move through houses very quickly. QT, right? You can get an egg sandwich, a coffee, a 99-cent giant soda, all in a very quick amount of time. They have everything you need. Then we have customer intimacy and relationships. Okay? This is typically driven by the customer experience. And by improving their relationships, it provides for increased revenue. So examples of this are Target, right? You ever notice how Target commercials very rarely ever show their product? They show the moms and the cool little outfits and the fun little babies and their crazy colors, and literally, you don't even have to think. You see a Target commercial, you know it's Target. They never put Target on the commercial. It's a bullseye, but we all know it's Target. They show their customers using their products in their own life. Fulton Homes, you're proud to own, we're proud to build. You can't get more customer intimacy based than that. What an amazing brand platform they've built. Starbucks. Remember when we'd all just go and buy like $1 coffee? Remember? Now it's, oh, hi, Jen. Okay, I have your mocha latte with no soy and blah, 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 right? They can make me anything I want. Heck, they could heat up my bagel. They can not heat up my bagel. They can give me organic cranberry jelly. I mean, like, it's all about me. Okay? And Lexus. Lexus is one of the most impressive brands ever built in my mind. And if you want to understand customer intimacy, we're going to talk a little bit more about Lexus, but they're impeccable at it. Okay? The last is product innovation and leadership. Typically driven by product improvements. Okay? So by improving their product offering and uniqueness, this provides for increased revenue. AJ's Finer Foods. If you want an azalea that only grows in New Zealand 2 months out of the year, guess where you might actually be able to find it? AJ's Finer Foods, right? Del Webb. God, what a great builder. Not just because I work for them, but they were a great builder. Del Webb literally said, let's build a community out where nobody's at and build a city within a city so that our residents never have to go there. The infrastructure was there. The builder built the infrastructure. That never happened. When he went to market, he was terrified that the day he opened his doors, that no one would show up. On the first day of sales for Del Webb, they had over 100,000 people waiting to preview their homes. Gevalia, right? It's a really great coffee, and it sends you a coffee maker. A coffee maker. I mean, like, who sends you the apparatus that you're gonna make the coffee in? I mean, that's kind of out of this world, but you know how much you pay for that coffee? A lot, just to get that coffee maker. And then Toyota, right? So Toyota's another good example. Now, here's what's kind of interesting about this. Let's take, say, Lexus, who focuses on customer intimacy and relationships. When you go to the dealership, any of you drive Lexus? Okay. When you go to the dealership, you get an oil change. Do they give you a new car to drive around in if you need to run errands? Yeah. Do they let you do your nails or pedicures or coffees or foods, or do you bring your wife and she gets to hang out and, right? It's above and beyond. You can do everything in a Lexus dealer pretty much, but at the last, sort of thought, oh, maybe buy a car, but everything else is there, right? They take it above and beyond. What about a Lexus commercial, right? It's me and my husband and my cute little baby walking in front of the brownstones, right? It's about the lifestyle. And at the last 10 seconds, that's when the Lexus drives through, right? What about their Christmas commercials, right? You have the kids playing in the snow and having fun, and then finally you see the car pull up with the red bow, right? The product is always an afterthought, because the intimacy of the relationship is what drives the experience for their clients. Now let's compare it to, say, like a BMW or a Mercedes, right? Very similar demographic, right, as far as consumers. But think of a BMW commercial, right? It's them driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, zoom, 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 right? They're going left, they're going right. It's a modern motor machine, right? They never show you who's driving it. You never see them going into their brownstone, even though you probably know that they live in one, right? It's about the product. And because the product is so impeccable, that's how they get the price point that they do for a Mercedes or a BMW, okay? So again, it's about understanding those value propositions. Now, keep in mind, value propositions are never advertised to your clients, okay? They're not a feature. You never say, we have great customer intimacy. You never do that, okay? It's subtle. It's again, like Target, right? They never tell you that they're intimate. You just feel it, okay? And it's never ignored to achieve an immediate payoff or promotional edge, right? So do you ever see Lexus do Labor Day sale, 50% off, right? The last 5 years there was a downturn, right? I used to drive around Old Town and up Scottsdale Road. I never saw big monkeys or, Cardinals guys next to your, beautiful dealerships up there. Just because operational excellence is an option, that doesn't mean you shift your scope. This drives everything, everything. And once you decide what it is, unless there's a very strong justification for changing it, you don't. Okay, now keep in mind, there's typically a primary, like people always say to me, well, Jen, I can't just be intimate. I mean, my product, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things to a lot of people. Well, value proposition resides in the heart of every customer interaction. There's a primary and there's a secondary. There's one that drives everything, and then you choose one of the other ones that kind of lends color, okay? So I would ask you this, and I think it's on your sheet underneath, and you don't have to fill it out today, but I think all of you need to go and reflect on, do you have a primary and secondary value proposition? And are they congruent with your best positioning in the market, and can you deliver on them every single day in every interaction? Okay? That means if you take customer intimacy when your client calls, you better answer the phone. You don't send them to voicemail. Or you hire a call service that can then connect them through, right? If it's product innovation, maybe you have a cool app. Maybe you use a lot of social media. But you have to, again, make those things congruent. Let's talk a little bit about social media. Before social media, there was television and radio, and it was people talking at people, right? If you were a B2B, you'd pick up the phone and I'm talking at you, okay? Well, with the advent of this really cool thing called the internet, and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and God only knows what else, people now see companies as people. We talked about this, as a personality, if you're lucky. If you don't have a personality, then that's probably a good place to start. And then the second worst thing you could have is a personality that's not necessarily liked, right? So you want to develop a brand personality. You want 3 to 6 words that after somebody does business with you, they walk away and they say, you know, that was really, okay? Now what's interesting is, like, for those of us folks who work for large corporations or cities, right? Scottsdale has a personality, and then Mark has a personality. So the other thing we have to think about is, if we're employees or if we have employees, we want to recruit employees that will support our value proposition and brand. Because if they can't support your corporate brand personality, you're going to have some incongruencies, okay? And the reason this is so important is because it builds trust. You know, it's a scary market out there. Whether you're B2B or B2C, with all of this innovation, with all of this access to marketplace, and with all of this access to being able to do business, people are hesitant, right? Because they're constantly exposed. I think the last number, and don't quote me on this, but I think they said something like, we're exposed to over 10,000 brands a day. If you don't believe me, look at your watch. There's a brand there. Look at your purse. Gig light here. The light there. I mean, literally, if you look around, there are 10,000 brands in a day. So we have to be able to build trust and be consistent in the way that people engage with our product, okay? And your brand personality helps build brand equity. So brand equity is what we all care about. It's the most important thing of what we do, and that is, it is the amount of money, time, or effort an end user, client, customer, is willing to spend to do business with you. Okay? The more brand equity you have, the more time, energy, or money you can charge. Okay? So that brand personality and the consistency of the brand personality helps build the trust, and the trust builds the equity. Okay? So WIFM. Let's talk a little bit about WIFM. Okay? Anyone know what WIFM is? Yes?
What's in it for me?
Absolutely. If I had candy, I'd toss it at you.
Oh.
You get a wink. How about that?
All right.
All right. What's in it for me? Okay? WIFM should drive everything that you do. And what I mean by that is, we alluded to this a little earlier. WIFM talks about going from the client forward. It's not what's in it for me as the business owner. It's what's in it for me as the client. Okay? So if you're going to do a Facebook recruitment campaign and you're going to say, like me, there needs to be a reason and a benefit to the customer to like you. And I find it really funny that there are lots of businesses who send out campaigns and just say, hey, join this contest and like us. Well, you might get them to like you. You might. But in 2 weeks, when you give them no value, they're going to see you as empty, and they're not going to continue their relationship with you. So it's not necessarily about that immediate result and sort of having the response rates, right? It's also about building trust. And everything you do, every campaign should start with WIFM. Start with the client you're talking about, and each demographic is different, right? And then talk about the benefits to them. Then work forwards. So it has to be easy to respond to. I always tell this story. I used to teach this for the state, and I had this gentleman, and he said, yeah, you know, I think direct mail doesn't work. And I said, really? He goes, I hate direct mail. I just think it doesn't work. He's like, for years I thought it doesn't work. And I said, okay. He goes, and so I'll tell you this story because I'll admit what I did. And I said, okay. And he goes, well, literally for 2 years, I sent out a postcard every month advertising my services. He was actually a realtor. And he's like, and I would send it, and I wouldn't get any calls. None at all. And I just stayed with it. And he's like, and finally, I sent it to myself. And I said, okay. He's like, because I thought the postmaster was stealing my mail. I thought he wasn't sending it because nobody was calling. I said, okay. He said, so I got this postcard, and I was looking at it, and my number was 602-999-9990. But the number that was on there was 602-999-9991. So for 2 years, this gentleman had been sending out postcards and may have gotten several phone calls. Okay, make it easy to respond to. Take the piece, send it to yourself first, send yourself the email, print it out, not while you're creating it. Wait 3 to 8 hours, come back, look at the piece, dial the phone number, hear your voicemail. Look at the piece, send an email, let it come back, okay? And I know it sounds really simple and rudimentary, but there are billions of dollars spent on bad phone numbers, bad emails. Make it easy, because just think, all of those clients and customers he could have had, how agitated are they at him? So now they're walking around for 2 years going, you know, that sign, right? They see that guy, I called that guy, he doesn't call me back, right? Your clients don't know. Make it easy. Needs to be consistent. If you promise them something once, you have to be able to deliver on that over and over. You know, if you're going to be innovative with your products, you can't come to a meeting with paper and pencil. You probably should have an iPad. It's the whole experience. How am I going to sell you a highly innovative process with a highly innovative product, and I'm the one scratching on paper, right? Communicate emotional benefits, not features. We talked about this. Why do I want a sunroof in my car? Is it because I want more air? Is it because I want more sunlight?
Makes you look cool.
It does make me look cool. But the reason is, it's because tonight, when I go pick up my husband, I want to drive around town, open up the sunroof, my best guy, right? Let the air blow through, have a nice romantic evening, right? That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for, is the experience that provides. So when you're thinking about what you're doing, think about the benefits, not the features, okay? So, how do we communicate a brand? We've gone through all of these stages of talking about research and all of these components, and again, this is a very high-level presentation. We could delve into it far deeper, but it's enough to make you guys dangerous, right? Actively in the beginning. So in the beginning, I'm going to make the assumption that you've gone through the strategic positioning exercise. Now you're going to create your color palette. Colors make people feel things, right? Company name. People respond to company names. Again, it's like a person. If you hear the name Monique versus the name Mary versus the name Mona, each one of those probably gave you some type of picture. We're human. It is, and whether you're B2B or B2C or whoever, we're all human. At the end of the day, we all kick off our shoes and, you know, maybe have a glass of wine, maybe root beer, right? But we all respond to things emotionally, because that's what we are. Slogans and URLs, the slogans that you use, you need to be cognizant of those. You need to be aware of those, because again, they're going to create an experience. If you use particular words, maybe they're slang words, and then you go and try and sell a really professional product, there's incongruency, okay? Brochures and letterhead, and actions and reactions. Again, if somebody calls, they leave a voicemail, and you don't call them back, or you don't call them back for a while, it's the stuff that we don't, even the way you answer the phone. Hi, this is Jen. Are you a business? Are you a person? Right? You're gonna react to those things. So you have to peel the onion back to the very basics and say, if I was my own customer, what experience would I have? And then I would take your friends and your family and your husbands and ask them to do the same thing, and then have them come back and tell you. And that's part of the competitive positioning experience. Talk to your existing clients. Talk to your new clients. Talk to clients you haven't gotten yet. Ask them why they're not doing business with you. Be that direct, because if you don't unearth it, they're going to continue not to do business with you. Okay? Okay, then those become passive, right? So now they're just there. Coca-Cola is what colors?
Red and white.
Red and white, okay? Pepsi?
Blue, red, blue.
Red, white, and blue, right? Give me a brand, Mark. Apple. Colors?
White.
White. They changed it, right? It used to be the rainbow color. Now they've gone more modern to the white. But we know, right? How do you know that? They didn't tell you that. They've just done it over and over and over, okay? Company name, same thing. I asked them a brand. What came to mind? Apple. If I asked one of you for another company, something would come to mind. In each of your market segments and what you do, I should be able to say, give me a company, and you better hope that your clients come up with yours, right? Slogans. Slogans will, you deserve a break today. Anyone remember that one? McDonald's, right? 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame side bun. Big Mac. Slogans are a part of, they're all components of that, okay? Brochures and letterhead. Realty support tools, and then actions and reactions. Again, all of those components, okay? And then once we get all this done, then we go to campaigns, messages, printed flyer, email templates, public relations efforts, and social media. All right, so I always like to talk a little bit about this because so now you've created this brand, you got all this stuff going on, right? Then there's trademark, service mark, and the little R, right? And there's a lot of confusion over what those are. So let's talk a little bit about that, okay? Trademark is a symbol, word, phrase, logo, or combination of these that legally distinguishes one company's product from another. Trademark designation is displayed on all product packaging, advertising, and marketing collateral. It is a product. It is a pen, a widget. It is something that you can physically touch, handle, and hold, okay? That is a trademark, okay? So if WESPAC made widgets, it would be WESPAC Widgets TM, okay? Once you come up with that name, and once it goes on that product, it is trademarked, okay? Then there's a service mark. A service mark is a trademark used to identify a service. So there's no product. The service mark is displayed on advertising, marketing, collateral, fleet vehicles, okay? So a service mark would be WESPAC Construction because we don't have a product. Our service is our building services. So our insurance folks and our agencies and our chambers and our nonprofits and all of these different components, y'all are service marks because you're a service. Okay, and again, nothing has happened to send this into the US government. Once it's created, it's service marked, okay? Then if you really want to protect your logos and your names and your signage and all that stuff, then you send this into the US government. Once you send that in and they tell you that yes, nobody else is using that, then you will get the little r. And that's when it's a registered trademark. Okay, so I think it's important for everyone to know the difference between these because as you're doing your research for your company names and information, if you see any of those anywhere else, you need to Google it, right? And Google, if you see that, that's not your name. It's someone else's, okay? And I always say that if you love your information that much, you better get it to the R. Now I'm going to tell you one other thing that I once heard, and I don't know if this is true anymore, so again, don't hold me to it. But it used to be many moons ago that if you had a really good idea, the first time that you made a slogan, right, you would fold it up and you would mail it to yourself. And you would have to mail it to yourself with a postmark. It has to have a postmark. And when you get the envelope back to yourself, you put it in a filing cabinet and you do not open the envelope. What this relates to is, let's say you come up with a really great company name and 10 years from now, you've made gazillions, and somebody comes to you and says, hey, that was my company name first. What's going to happen is whoever can show use in market first, based on registration with a government entity, okay, that's who is going to win the lawsuit. Okay, so by having the postmark from the U.S. Postal Service, that then designates a government agency. Okay. Now again, I'm not an attorney, and I would highly recommend, if you love your name that much, go see one and make sure you get it taken care of. Okay. But as we're talking about marketing, protect your ideas. Okay, protect them. Put that stuff on there, because other people are coming up with ideas, and in this great innovative world, if they see that, that's a run, don't walk kind of approach, okay? Copyright. Copyright, once you pen it, it's yours, okay? So once you've written it, you put your little C on it, just like these. I wrote these in 2010, so you can see the little C, 2010. Copyright is just a matter of creating it. Now again, if you have something that you're really crazy about, I would definitely talk to a copyright attorney, because they're experts in the area. Always seek out experts if there's something that you really want to protect. Okay? All right. So, have I answered the question of how we create a brand? Okay. Again, it starts with competitive positioning. We start with research, evaluation, and definition. You have to start there. Then we develop, and then we go to market. Okay? So, two key things that you have to take away is the best way to successfully market your business is to plan your campaigns before you launch them, okay? To just willy-nilly do things and send things out, oh, that sounds good, not a good idea. There are two types of media that you can use typically to advertise. One is frequency-based. It's based on the number of customer touch points, okay? The more customer touch points you can get in a shorter period of time, the better. Okay, so key examples of this would be radio and email. It's very cost efficient to get many touch points in a short period of time with email or radio. Okay? Whereas reach is the number of customers you interact with. So billboards, right? It's only one billboard, but on I-10 at 6 o'clock at night, whoo, how many people does it reach, right? Or television. We've all seen the big Super Bowl ads, right? So again, there are two types of media, and you want what's called the media mix, right? You want a little bit of reach and a little bit of frequency. So the other thing I always tell my clients is reach times frequency equals total impressions, okay? So what does that help you do? Well, what it does is, let's say you're considering doing a radio ad. Well, you're going to say, what's your cumulative audience? And they're going to say, well, it's 20,000 people. And you're going to say, okay, and how many ads am I going to run? Well, I'm going to run 15 ads. Gives you total impressions. You're comparing it against maybe a TV ad who, you know, you're only going to be able to afford 3 ads, but you're going to touch 100,000 people, right? So again, it gives you this total impression. And a lot of ad buyers or ad sellers will talk about total impressions. And I always like people to understand what that means. Okay, so marketing plan and budget outlines who is the target audience. We talked a little bit about this, right? They have all this good info. Check it out. What is the delivery method? Is it email? Is it, you know, online? Is it in person? How are they going to deliver it? What is the projected cost? What is the reach? And what is the frequency? Reach isn't more important than frequency, and frequency isn't more important than reach, but you want to know both. Okay? What is the timing? How often is it going to go out? What is the recurring frequency? What is the message and call to action? And what is the response mechanism? If there's one thing you take from this class, always have a call to action. Always have a response mechanism. Apple can do branding, and I get it, but they're Apple, okay? For us, small, mid, even large companies, we need our clients to respond to us. To me, a website is one of your biggest sales tools. If you aren't allowing your clients to reach you through your website and ask for information, you are doing yourself a disservice, okay? You want them to be able to engage because that helps them find you, okay? And then what is the goal? Every campaign should have a goal. Planning allows for best tracking, best testing, best customer experience, we talked about that, best budgeting, consistent branding for increased market share. Remember, we're trying to get that little portion of the market that our competitors aren't, and we're trying to make that market segment get bigger, right? We want to welcome more people into our sales funnel. And keep in mind the goal of every campaign should be lead generation in one way or another. Even if it's to build brand or exposure, you still want people to raise their hands. And 2, increase market share. And it's red light, green light. This is what we were just talking about. Maybe you can't dial in as much as you'd like, right? But you're going to dial into the best of your abilities. And then you're going to red light, green light. You're going to do a test campaign, right? And you're going to track your responses, which is the next slide I'm going to show you. And then you're going to say, what is my response, what is my conversion, and what is my revenue? If you don't see it, don't do it again, right? And again, if it's meant to be a frequency-based initiative, make sure you give it enough time to test it. So you can't pull it too quick, but you can't let it go on too long. Does that make sense? Okay. So you always should base your marketing campaigns on a documented sales funnel, database, internal or lead generating cold list. You need to have a database. You need to be tracking your people. You need to know who's out there and you're working with them. Even if you're a retail store, do everything you can to try and get information about your people, because it helps you improve your experience with them. Okay? Database reporting and tracking, that'll tell you, you see all these rewards programs now, right? The reason they do the rewards programs is so that they can say, oh, so-and-so came in 4 times or so-and-so came in 3 times. And they can improve that process as they build a more loyal relationship with their clients, right? Clear benchmarks, knowledge of your metrics, and ongoing testing and improvement. So, this is one of my favorite things ever. So leave a little room on your space. Draw 6 triangles just like this. Here, I'll give you the whole thing. If you guys take anything from this class, take this. And for you marketing folks, the next time your clients say, I can't track something, here's your 6 triangles. You just got to tell them that this really dynamic gal named Jennifer told you.
Okay.
All right.
From
So,
WESPAC.
from WESPAC. Hey, you want to build a building?
Yeah.
All right. So, let's say we send a postcard out to 500 people. Okay? And this is one of my favorite things. People say, well, marketing doesn't work. No. Marketing doesn't work if you don't track it. That's the difference. It's 500 postcards. 20 people are going to register on a unique landing page. You're going to have a unique URL that says, iwantblank.com, right? Or scottsdaleoffice.com, right? And it's not one of these, your company name with a slash and a whole bunch of gobbledygook after. It's a beautiful vanity URL. You can get them super easy, super cheap, okay? When I was in real estate, I used to do them through, I'll think of it. I would do a separate individual landing page. It was one sheet. It was a register page. It was super easy, okay? So 20 people are going to register on your landing page. Get enough information to follow up, but don't make them uncomfortable. You don't need their whole life story. You need enough to help them move through the sales process. These are my hand raisers. They're leads. All they're doing is saying, I have a need for your product. That's all you're looking for, okay? Don't make them feel uncomfortable. So I get a 4% response rate. It's pretty good, actually. The average in the industry is between, depending on your industry that you're in, anywhere between 2 to 6% is a pretty successful campaign, okay? So 4%. Now, I'm going to follow up with those 20 responders via email. I'm going to say, thank you so much for your, inquiry. We're really excited to work with you. And from that email, I'm going to get 3 that I'm able to connect with who will set an appointment with me, right? And they'll say, absolutely, Jen, I would love to learn more. Or I'd love to tell you about the challenges that I'm having. So now my conversion rate is 15%. Pretty good. These are my prospects, right? These are people who are willing to give me more than 15 minutes of their time. 15 minutes or more, I should say. okay? People may stay in leads for a very long time. Do not move them forward until they're ready to move forward, okay? But because they're not moving forward, you still want to see where they're at, okay? Then these three will meet with me. Find me dynamic and engaging. But only one will actually work with me, okay? 33% conversion rate. I could handle 33% all day, every day. That is a solid conversion rate, okay? Now, here's what, and I'm sure my marketing gals will tell me this. You'll talk to a client, they'll go, oh, marketing doesn't work. I sent out 500 postcards, I got nothing. I got one sale. One sale with a 33% conversion rate. And if you did these 6 triangles, here's what I would tell you. It would allow you to improve your process. Maybe email isn't the best for you. Maybe you need to make phone calls, right? So you do it once via email. And then the next time you do the campaign again and you call. Well, because you know you went from 20, maybe that goes up to 6. Now your conversion rate is higher. Now you can see where you improve on your sales process, right? 6 triangles is all it takes. It's super easy. Yes?
How do you find out what's the least expensive way to advertise? Because I have a gazillion business cards for all the years that I've asked for. And I just, every time I think, I could send all these people what I'm doing, like a letterhead or whatever, but everything costs money and sometimes we don't have it.
Well, again, it goes back to your value proposition. You need to define what type of product or experience you want your clients to have, right? If you chose customer intimacy, then you probably shouldn't just send them a general postcard, right? You probably shouldn't just send them a blank email, right? You should probably send them a handwritten note. You do 5 a day for the next, you know, and you say, that's 42 cents and 2 minutes of your time, right? Hey, would really love to talk with you. I'm doing some really cool things right now. That's customer intimacy, okay? If it's product innovation, you might seem a little archaic if you write out a thank you note, right? So is it a matter of hitting them up on Facebook or, you know, doing something? But again, it's all driven by that value proposition, okay? Everything goes back to that. That's how you make those decisions, everything. It all starts there, okay? So again, you have lead, prospect, and close, and then you hope those closes then come around, okay? This is a marketing plan, you guys. And it's really easy. And it's something that all of you can do, okay? So that's the conclusion of today's overview. I, again, was Jennifer Delaporte. I thank you all for your time. Did you all find this beneficial?
Yes.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Well, thank you so much. And again, I hope you all really take 1 or 2 things, take 5 things, take something, right, and implement it. And I hope to see you all again very soon. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you for taking care of your business in Scottsdale. Scottsdale's Economic Development Department can help your business grow strong in one of the nation's most dynamic cities. For more information, visit choosescottsdale.com or call 480-312-2038.